Happy 21 days of happy, everyone. I'm super excited today about our guest. Today, we have with us Rodney Patterson. And I must say before we start out, Rodney is a dear friend, a good brother, a leader, a mentor to me, for me for years. And he's just a dynamic brother, and he's written this awesome book that we're going to get in a great conversation about. But today's conversation, the title is information overload making us all crazy? So Rodney has written a book that kind of tackles this. So welcome, Rodney. Thank you for coming on 21 Days of Happy. We so appreciate you making the time.
Thank you, my brother Kelvin. Much love to you and your beloved, your princess, all the success that God is bestowing upon you and your family. I'm just so honored to be here and just to know you and just to be in your presence, man.
Oh, man. So I love the title of your book, Guard Your Gates, and it just hits me in so many ways. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your book, what it's about, and yeah.
Sure. Well, think about the whole purpose of a gate.
Okay.
Gates protect what is valuable. And this book was born really out of a crisis that I was in, and I suffered as a result of it. But I began to reflect on what happened. How did I sacrifice what was valuable? And I realized that my gates were not guarded. And God gave me this, he put a picture in front of me of what I did wrong.
Okay.
And a strategy for how I can keep from doing that in the future. And the moment I put it to work, it's amazing how productivity followed after that. So this book is simply about being productive, being productive in the most unusual circumstances. Mm-hmm. And the question is, even now, where you're talking about information overload, can you be productive even in a pandemic?
Right. Yeah.
We can talk about that.
So, like, guard your gates, right? Break that down a little bit. Like, what's the concept? I mean, where did you pull it from somewhere, or I don't know? Did you get a download from above?
Listen, I'll tell you exactly where it came from. Right. So, I was cutting my grass.
Okay.
Right, cutting my grass, and I kept stepping in the same stuff every time I would cut my grass, and I would wonder, like, whose animal is this that's leaving this in my grass?
Okay.
Every time. I could never find the animal that was just leaving little deposits for me as I cut my grass. And I said, I got tired of it, and I bought a fence around my entire property.
Okay, you were done.
And it fixed the problem, at least for me, right?
Right.
That concept I began to think about when I was in the middle. I was actually past the crisis. The crisis had impacted me. And I was thinking about what went wrong. That concept, I said, I did not protect my gate. I did not guard my gates. And just to give you an example, just to bring it real, my mom was sick. I was taking care of my family. I worked far from home, at least 2 hours from home. So in the morning, I would go out to work. I would go see mom. I would help mom take her to the doctor for treatments and whatnot. And then I would go back home, and it took me a long time to do that. And it was burdensome. But what I didn't realize was how much my work product was suffering as a result of it. And so, you know what happens? You're not doing the job the way you should. HR will call you in. And Kelvin, I'll tell you, I remember the day when I was sitting across from HR. And I began to explain to them what was going on with my mom. They began to tell me, well, Rob, we noticed a slip in your productivity.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it impacted me. So when I went home, I said, okay, I'm going to really try harder. And I just couldn't. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't manage the overwhelming responsibility of taking care of my family, doing my job, taking care of my mom. And ultimately, I failed. Ultimately, I went back to the office and you know, we reached an agreement, a separation agreement, and I left there, right? But as I left, I remember the stress just leaving my body, right? And I began to think about what happened. I mean, what happened? God told me, organize, defend, and guard. And it comes straight out of the book of Nehemiah.
Okay.
You know, Nehemiah, who was the cupbearer to the king, had great responsibility.
And Nehemiah,
And then
Nehemiah is a book in the Bible.
Right? Yes, Nehemiah, the book in the Bible, exactly.
Okay.
In the book of Nehemiah.
Okay.
In the Old Testament, he was serving the king, and he had a very important job. Okay. But he got word that his hometown was destroyed, that the gates that were protecting his hometown was destroyed, and he was impacted to go do something about it. And I'm giving you the Rod version of that, right? So you go to the Bible, look at Nehemiah, get the exact translation, right? But this is Rod's version. So he goes to Jerusalem and he sees the gates down. He does three things, Kelvin. Okay. He organizes. He surveys the damages. He talks to the leaders. He defends. As they are rebuilding the gates, rebuilding the walls around his property, they're doing it with sword in one hand, trowel in the other. They are defending. And then when the job was done, he posted guards on each area. Why? To keep it from happening again. You know, when I thought about what happened to me, it's like, wow, I had no organization in terms of organizing, where am I going in this job? What is my current status in my job? Am I doing my job? In fact, do I have all the tools I need? Have I communicated with everyone that needs to know what's going on? My mom isn't, health is failing. Does my boss know that? Does, you know, the people that are expecting me to deliver something know that? You know, defend. Do I have something that's currently on my desk that I need to respond to, that if I don't respond, it's going to hurt me? And then guard is being proactive, staying on your game, monitoring your phone, monitoring your desk, monitoring your email, knowing what's coming ahead. And that is the proactive part of it. Right. And when I thought about this and I put it in writing, it was like, it's amazing, because crisis is normal to life. Yeah. Amen. Everyone is going to be in crisis. And there are actually 5 things, especially leaders, that you're going to deal with. Okay. You're going to deal with crisis. Break it down. You're going to deal with complexity. You're going to deal with loneliness, weariness, and betrayal. So when I dealt with crisis, I didn't have a strategy to deal with it. I didn't have a strategy on how to get past this crisis and still do my job. Now, here's the kicker, that as crisis is normal to life. I had another crisis. All right, I got a new job and I was doing great, but you have another crisis. But when I understood what I needed to do, I was able to even grow in the midst of that crisis. Yeah, yeah. No. So that's the long version to a short question. But you know, it really took me from doing this, from struggling to perform to performing in the struggle. Right. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, I think, you know, I think it's so relevant, especially to where we are now. I mean, we've been talking about that information overload,
It's just, especially with COVID-19 and so many people being quarantined, it's just like, I like me personally, I just feel bombarded with information from my phone to emails to
Right.
social media to it's just feel the news, right? It just feels like it's coming from
It,
every which way. And sometimes I'm like, man, is information overload? Is it making me crazy? Is it making us crazy? Right?
yeah.
But listening to you, I mean, like guarding your gates and applying that strategy could really help us all.
Hey, Kelvin, let me tell you, my daughter, she was no, she was 17, looking over my shoulder as I'm working my personal email. It's not my work, my personal email. And she saw that I had so many unread emails. She's
So
like,
I have thousands,
3,000 unread emails, Dad? I was like, oh
thousands,
my goodness.
right?
But the problem was that 90% of it was junk.
Yeah,
You bought a shirt
right.
online, you forgot to uncheck the box. Now you're getting all kinds of advertisements and whatnot,
Isn't that
and emails. And as you know, we receive approximately 121 emails per day. And brother, let me tell you, don't take a day off, okay?
yeah,
Because important things are in that email.
yeah, right.
You know, you could have sent me, Rod, hey, I want you to be a guest on my show. But if I have 3,000 unread emails in my inbox, I very well might miss that.
Yeah,
And if I'm
right.
on the job and my CEO says, Rod, I need to see you right now, and I read it 2 days later,
Yeah,
guess what? I'm going to be looking for another job.
right, right. I'll bring that home. Yeah, I'm guilty. I have probably 8,716 emails and counting. But from time to time, my wife will say, "I sent you an email. Did you get it? Did you read it?" And I'm like, uh, I don't know. It got buried, right? And
Yeah. Listen, bro. So that's important, right? Your wife sends you an email. When you guard your gates, you protect what's important.
mm,
You carve out what's important, and if you know what's in there, and again, my wife sends me emails,
yeah,
and she'll ask, "Did you read it?" And I say, "Well, yeah, I saw it," because if I see it, there are some things you can put it aside. You can flag it that this is important. At least you know it's in there.
yeah,
You're
right.
not saying, "You sent me an email?
Yeah,
When did you do that?"
wrong answer.
2 weeks ago. Did you see it? And so,
Right.
but it's important. But email is just one segment of it. And I use email a lot as an example because, especially in this quarantine environment, that is the predominant way that we communicate.
So, Rodney, it's so funny you say that. Like, I was just doing some research when when I knew I was going to have a conversation with you, and I just wanted to. I was asking myself this question: is information overload? Is it making us all crazy? So I just got to share these stats with you and see how we can use guard your gates to get out of this. So data. I was reading, so the average American spends 12 hours a day consuming data. That's like
Wow.
100,000 words daily, or 201 pages of information. That's single space, right? Social media, we spend the average of 2 hours on social media a day, but yet we have 2.5 quintillion bytes of data coming at us. Text, we send and receive 94 texts a day. We stream 8 hours of content. Then there's emails, like you mentioned, 121 emails we're getting each day, and on top of that, a 24-hour news cycle. Man, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
my heart is beating a little faster.
And I'm sure those text messages, that I'm sure that's undercounted,
I'm
because
sure.
I know between my wife, my daughter, and my son, that's already 90, 94 per person. And, and that's only in the morning.
Right,
So,
exactly,
yeah,
right. So, man, it's like we're trying to capture all this information that's coming at
right.
us, right? I,
How do you,
I
how do you
need, I need
absorb
some,
it?
I need some help.
How do you absorb all of that information? It is so amazing how we have gone from not having that much information to constant information. And every time they improve the Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
guess what?
right,
There's a greater expectation on you to
right,
be responsive.
right.
There was a time when you could say, "Listen, I'll call you back
Yeah,
tomorrow," or remember the busy signal.
right. Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that?
What's that?
That that's unheard of.
Unheard of.
When the moment we call you, either you pick up or we text you, so we know you have the information.
Right.
So what do you do with it? And I think that's the most important thing. The former CEO of Coca-Cola used to tell, he had a commencement speech, and it was a brief
Mhm.
speech, right? But he gave an analogy. He said, imagine life as a game.
Okay.
You are juggling balls,
Okay.
and you're juggling these balls, and some of the balls are made of rubber,
Right.
and some of the balls are made of glass.
Okay.
If you bounce and drop the rubber ball, guess what? It's going to bounce.
Okay. Right.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
But if you drop the glass ball, it's going to mar, it's going to shatter. And the glass ball could be your health.
Yeah.
The glass ball definitely could be family.
Right.
It could be something that's critical to your job. The problem with all of this data and all of this information that we're receiving is that it's hard to determine where's the glass ball,
Come on.
where's the rubber ball. They're all in the air. And when your gates are not guarded, brother, there are things smashing everywhere. You just need a broom.
I'm laughing, but it's so not funny. Yes.
I'm telling you, because I remember when I used every year, every January, the International Christian Brotherhood have their kickoff breakfast. And every year my son and I would go, and we would have our crossover, and I take my son and we go out to the crossover, and my daughter would come, I'd come home, and we have guy day, the same day as the kickoff. We would have guy, we spend the whole day together, whether we're at playing basketball or going to Buffalo Wild Wings. We're having a great time the whole day. We come home, there's my daughter waiting, like, well, when are we going to do daddy daughter day?
Yeah.
And I tell her, I say, honey, it's important. I got it. We're going to do it. And I tell you, Kelvin, I unashamedly mentioned that, it didn't happen. Like year after year, we would do it.
Right.
Then finally, 2018 comes. I put it on my calendar, because your calendar gate is so important. If you don't put the things that are important, if you don't organize your calendar, then important things that are important to you and important to others are going to get missed. So I put it on my calendar. So when the day came, I said, guess what tomorrow is? She said, what? Daddy daughter day. And she was so thrilled, and we had an amazing time.
Yeah,
We went boating, we went biking, we went to restaurants, and I ate pancakes with ice cream, and I think I'm still paying for that today. But we had a great time. Why? Because I put it on my calendar. I have my calendar organized. I had it defended, in that I responded, like that due date, that was something that was important. And I had it guarded. I kept stuff off my calendar that didn't need to be there. Because if it was there, it was taking up space of something that should be there.
So no, and that's great. I love the story about your daughter. So I'm just trying to figure out how do I apply this methodology. So I got all these portals coming at me,
Go ahead.
emails, texts, social media.
Well, give me a gate. Give me a gate, and I will tell you
Right.
how to organize
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
How to guard your gates. Apply to it.
Okay. Okay. You got. Oh, right.
Give me a gate.
This is real time. Okay.
Like
So,
three
all right.
card minded, man. Blind to
So
red,
here
blind to
we
black.
go. So social media, I find myself throughout the day. You know,
Sure.
I'm looking at social media. I start scrolling. 5 minutes turns into 20 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's
Well, that's a
that's one.
social media gate,
Okay,
right?
social media.
Facebook, Instagram,
I got
Twitter,
more. So yeah, go good.
Twitter, TikTok, WhatsApp,
Yeah.
you name it. If my kids are on it, more than likely I'm on it, right?
Okay.
So, what organize? What is your purpose in being engaging in social media?
Mm,
What is your purpose on Facebook? Why are you there? What is your purpose on TikTok? Why are you there? Right? Defend. You know how many messages and Instagram and messenger messages I get from family and friends, and you figure, oh, let me take some time. Oh, so and so, Kelvin sent me a message. You never sent me a message in Messenger for like 10 years. And now I get a messenger from you, and I'm like, oh, let me look at it. It's some video, it's some picture that I don't need to respond to. I need to defend. Now, if you didn't send me a message 10 years, I'll open yours and it'll be something serious like, hey, Rod, maybe we need to hang out. I'm in town. Let's
right.
connect. I need to respond to that. I need to respond to that. Guard is, do I really need to be on all of these platforms? Do I need to do that? Say no. Block off, delete them, delete the app, because if you have the app, you're going to be involved with it. But it goes back to organizing,
Good, right.
knowing what you're on.
Mm,
I remember I was on so many different platforms that I never used. They were just taking up space on my phone.
mm.
So I had to delete these apps. What am I on? What's on my computer? What's on my phone? Defend. Responding to things, making sure I like your posts, making sure that I communicate and know what's going on.
If I put out a post, you better like it. Come on, man. I'm joking.
If I miss it, then I got to defend that. So, but guarding is being proactive, understanding your purpose, you know, and having it. Why are you even there?
Right.
You know, but if you don't know, you're going to spend more time there. You're going to spend more time drifting. If you're not focused on knowing your purpose,
right,
then you're likely to spend hours upon hours on social media.
And that's it's funny you speak about purpose. On one of the days of 21 Days of Happy, we have Dr. A.R. Bernard, and he's going to bless us and talk about purpose. So I feel like it's all tying together. But I love that example. How about my phone? Throughout the day, I'm looking at text. You know, the little ding goes off. I'm working, ding goes off. I look at the text. 20 minutes later, another ding goes off. I look at the text. So I'm looking at text all day, right?
Right. Well, number one, who has your phone, right? Who has your number? That's number one. Organizing who has access to me, and do they need that kind of access to me? There's a way to even prioritize messages as they come into your phone.
Okay.
Right? So that's part of organizing, knowing, okay, now if you know Rod calls, you're going to respond to Rod's text the moment you get it. So it comes in flashing. So you know when that text come in, when they're going to text you, it has to have some uniqueness to it, so that you are organized, you're distinguishing it from the other stuff.
Right.
Defending, you need to respond to that Edwina text.
Right.
Because that's demanding something from you.
Right.
Guarding is like, well, this brother doesn't even need my number. You know, I don't even know who this person is. This is another marketer trying to get me to buy something I don't need. I need to block that person.
Yeah.
I need to filter out who has access to me. I need to respond to those people who really need to hear from me, who's waiting to hear from me. And I need to be proactive in who I give my information to. And let me warn you, sometimes that may be family members, right? Because some family members will call you, they will text you, and they can't take no for a minute, but they'll call you right back. And you love your family members, but if you have a job to do, you have to make sure that you are doing your job.
Right.
You are focused in uninterrupted time. Right. And sometimes that family member, they'll understand later on, hey, I wasn't working, but I'll give you a call later on.
Well, I mean, we can go on about this, but it sounds like distraction is a big thing, right? So you're talking about purpose, and whether it's phone or emails or whatever, a lot of this stuff can just be distracting, right? Like, so I once heard someone talk about is like how you have to kind of think of your day like a suitcase, right? And that and it's only so much you can put into a suitcase, right? You got 24 hours, only so much you can put into the suitcase. But if you're looking at emails or texts or whatever, especially if they aren't on purpose, that's filling up the suitcase. So
but look, first of all, where are you going? Okay.
Right.
Because what goes in the suitcase will determine, is based on where you're going.
Right.
I'm going to visit you in beautiful, California. I'm not packing heavy coats and whatnot. So I need to organize in knowing, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I get there? And distractions, listen, that is common, but usually the people who are the most distracted are the people who don't know where they're going. Imagine, I live in
that's city. Good. That's good.
I live in a city.
Say that again. Say that again. I need to write that down.
The people who are most distracted are people who don't know where they're going. We live in a city. I'm from the Bronx, born and raised in the Bronx. Shout out to Ellesmere, right? That's my hometown.
Look it down, Bronx.
Yeah. So I remember going down to 42nd Street for a business matter. I get out the train, gazillions of people everywhere, but I know where I'm going. So many distractions everywhere. You got Batman fighting Spider-Man, you got people selling all kinds of stuff. But if you know where you're going, the distractions will not keep you from getting to that destination. So when you're organizing, you're knowing where you're going. When you're defending, you're telling the panhandlers and all the people who are approaching you, no, that's okay, man. I got to get where I'm going. And when you're guarding, listen, that goes back to knowing where you're going.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Because I'm hearing people all the time talk about, hey, how social media, digital, or whatever is or the news is creating a level of stress and anxiety that we've never seen before. But it's this kind of what I think is a fear of missing out. Like I must stay plugged in all the time to the news, to be available to all my friends, be available to everyone, but it's stressing. But it's stressing. Yeah.
Well, listen, you're talking about stress, so let's talk about health, okay? And I don't talk about this in the book because we can't talk about every single gate. You gotta organize, defend, and guard. But we're in a pandemic right now. COVID-19 taking lives right and left.
Unfortunately, yeah.
How do you, when you talk about health, organize? What's going on in your body? Do you recognize? Do you know what your temperature is? Do you know what your blood pressure is? Is there anything going on with your body? That's organizing. Going to regular appointments. Going for the men, those colonoscopies. And getting your prostate checked. Those kind of things. Knowing what your heart situation is for everyone, right? And defend. Get treatment. Get tested. Don't ignore the symptom. These things are attacking your body. Defend your body by, again, responding to those things that are making demands on you.
Yeah.
And then guard.
Right.
exercise,
Right.
eat right. Listen, they say an apple a day keep the doctor away. But what about a Kit Kat a day?
Right.
What about cookies every day?
Yeah. Okay.
Juice every day?
Right.
We have to be mindful of our health. So with regards to our consumption of news media, what's your purpose? You need to know what's going on. Yeah, so tune into the news, find out what's going on.
Right.
Now that you know, in like the first 15 minutes of the news, move on.
Move on.
Okay?
Move on.
If it's raining outside, then defend. Go out with an umbrella.
Right. Right. So
So yeah.
I love it because to me, in listening to you, guard your gates is a lot about making an assessment, taking a self-assessment, and organizing what's important, what's valuable,
Right.
what's a priority to me, not to other people, not to the world, but to me, right?
That's right.
And I hear self-care in there too, making
That is
sure in defending and guarding, I'm important, right?
that's
I'm
right.
making sure, things are prioritized and making sure I take care of myself and my stuff and the things that are important to me. That's how I hear it.
And listen, if you don't, right, there are other people who are organizing, defending, and guarding their gates, and they're using you,
They
right?
using, isn't
Because
that true?
you're part of their plan. You're part of their goals.
Facebook got plenty of
So,
money, and they want me to stay on. They want me to stay on Facebook, Instagram. They like, can you be up there
please,
for a few more hours a day?
and listen, I remember, hey Kelvin, I remember years ago when I was playing a video game. This was before the whole revelation. I played a video game. I sat down, got home from work, sat down around 6 o'clock. The next thing I know, the sun was coming up, and I was locked in. And I was so ridiculous. At the end of the day, I'm like, well, what do I have? At the end of all of these hours, what do I have? The high score?
Right.
That's what I got. I got the high score. If I spent that time, if understanding what my purpose is, my vision is, my goals are, you're only going to hit the target you aim at. So if I spent my time aiming at those targets, listen, that's going to add value to my life.
Right.
Now, I'm not against video games, and I think that there's a lot of value in kids playing games, and even adults playing these games. There's not the games where you're isolated at home, playing by yourself. No, there's a whole community of people out there, which is great. But if you are not organized, then you will spend that time playing that game during the time you should be doing your homework.
That's good.
During the time you should be going to the doctor or doing something else that is proactive and taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that's good. And we can talk about this all day. I'm gonna move on, but preparing for this conversation, I just found all these amazing studies. Like I found one that talked about that now scientists and researchers are saying that internet addiction changes the brain in a very similar way as cocaine addiction, right? So when you look at the brain scans, which I find insane, right? And I know in certain parts of the world, in Asia or whatever, they're starting to open up social media addiction camps, video game addiction camps, and so forth. So, I mean, this stuff is serious, right? I mean, especially the young people. So I guess, my question to you is like, what do you think about that? And especially with our kids, how can we start teaching our kids, right? It's a lot of parents listen to this. How can we start teaching our kids to guard their gates?
Well, addictions are a terrible thing. And you've heard my pastor, Pastor Aaron Bernard, and you mentioned that he's going to be coming here, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
That he always teaches that anything taken to the extreme leads to error.
Yeah.
And so these addictions that come out are terrible,
Right.
terrible things, you know. And but how do you teach your children about these things? I believe that you teach little by what you say. You teach more by what you do, but you teach best by who you are.
Oh, okay.
And so if you are a person that is
That's,
given to addictions, then what you're telling your kids is not, if it's not matching up with who you are, then that is not the best example. Okay. And again, what you're teaching them, okay, by what you say and what you do, they're watching you, and they're going to learn more by who you are. They're going to observe who you are, and your actions are going to speak so much louder than the words, so much louder than the teachers are teaching them. You have the greatest influence on your children. And when they're watching you organizing your thought, spending your time reading books or spending your time doing things that are productive, then that's going to carry over.
yeah.
You know, I was just in an interview with my son, and the interviewer asked him, say, well, so who encourages you to read? And I was so proud. My wife and I both encouraged this kid to read, right? But he said, "Oh, my dad always asking me what can we read." I stuck my chest out. I'm like, "Yes, that's right, it's me." Even though my wife has all the degrees and she reads tons
Right.
of books, you know, but he sees me reading. He sees me leading and doing things that are productive, and I'm always challenging him to read more and whatnot. So with regards to addiction. Okay, I'm not saying that you should not get treatment. If there's an addiction, you
Yeah, sure.
definitely seek out treatment. But when you're talking about teaching your children patterns and behaviors, they learn so much from who you are and who you claim to be.
Mm,
And
yes.
the way you communicate is by word, by gesture, and by spirit. And to the degree that those are aligned is the degree of your effectiveness as a teacher.
Mm, that's that's good. You kind of preaching and teaching.
You
Uh,
know what? I'm not. You didn't collect an offering yet, but it's all right.
Not yet, not yet. So, yeah, we're kind of landing the plane, but hey, what, uh, from your opinion, like, what's the most important gate to guard?
Mm. I was giving a presentation to a bunch of engineers on this very on Guard Your Gates, and I finished with the presentation. I thought everybody was connecting, and I told them what I thought the most important gate was. And a gentleman came up to me, and he was a believer. He's like, Rod, I think that you got the most important gate wrong, because I think the God gate is the most important gate. And I love the fact that this was a secular environment, but he was bold enough to talk about God and Jesus, and I love that. I said, but here's the deal: the most important gate is your time gate. If you do not manage your time effectively, when are you going to worship? When are you going to study? When are you going to set those goals and those plans? When are you going to organize your email gate, organize your phone gate, organize your health gate? When are you going to do it if you cannot effectively manage your time? And the biggest challenge to time management is procrastination. And procrastination is a thief. So your time gate is so critical to managing all your other gates, because I have to set time to talk to you. I have to set time to minister to my family and my children.
Yeah, that's
And but if I don't organize my time effectively, then the time that I'm spending with you may be the time that I should be spending with my family.
right, right. That's
So it was really great, but your time gate is so important. But let's face it, sometimes we fail, and I tell you, I failed earlier. I failed, in different aspects of trying to manage my time and guard my gates. I'm not perfect at it, but I remember General Patton. He said about success:
Good old
He
General
said,
Patton.
say it again.
Said good old General Patton.
Good old General Patton. He said, success is not measured by how high you climb. It's measured by how high you bounce after you hit the ground. You know, when we fail, get up, try it again, do it again. You fall again, do it again. You fall again, do it again until you're the one knocking down the obstacles.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Sure.
Hey, last question. My producer is making me ask this question, but since we're in this whole 21 days of happy campaign, I wanted to ask you, does the happiness gate have to be guarded?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Does the happiness first? Let me give a shout out to my
You have
pastor.
to guard your happy.
Let me give a shout out to my pastor and make sure you guys go pick up his book, Happiness Is. Okay. So I let him talk about that. But
Right.
happiness is a choice. So it's not necessarily about you guarding your happiness gate. It's more about you choosing to be happy, because things are going to happen. Like you know, we have a lot of people who were affected by this coronavirus,
Yes.
right? And we get sad. That's okay. We mourn with them, yes. But am I still happy? Yes. I'm still happy because I choose to be happy. And how do if I want to guard my happiness gate, then I have to guard my choices and understand my choices. Yeah. What am I choosing today? And I choose happiness. Yeah. Because circling around the perimeter of happiness is depression, anxiety, stress, you name it, trying to get a foothold. But you can make the choice to be happy. And for me, happiness is a loving relationship, a loving, growing relationship with Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. That was amazing. I mean, where can we follow you? Where can we find the book? I mean, on social media, can you give us your handle?
Sure. Well, you can definitely go to my website, guardyourgates.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Guard Your Gates. At Guard Your Gates, yes.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, you laid out some wisdom for all of us. So again, thank you for your time and you being on 21 Days of Happy today. We appreciate you.
Listen, I appreciate you. Love you, man. Looking forward to you returning to New York or me going to LA, one or the other.
There you go. Yeah, let's do it. All right, Ryan, take care.
Bless you, man. Thank you.
All right.